What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Hero Report, and welcome back to a brand new video where we talk all things Heat basketball. In today's video, we're going to be talking about free agency because the offseason is in full flow. The season has wrapped up. The draft is in 7 or 8 days. Free agency starts on August 2nd. Mark your calendars, man. It's going to be a wild ride. A lot of rumors flowing around right now, but we're going to be talking about free agency, especially with the Miami Heat free agents. We have a lot of free agents. Off the top of my head, we have about 7 free agents that are either unrestricted or restricted, team options, player options, all that stuff, man. And hopefully you guys enjoy the video. Hopefully you guys enjoy the game we're going to be playing. It's a game called Keep or Let Go. It's very simple. What we're going to be doing is with the 7 free agents we have, and using John Hollinger's measurement on the players' estimated value this season, we're going to be talking about whether we should keep them or let them walk, or potentially use them in a sign and trade deal. So make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. We are very close to 1K, and let me know if you guys are messing with the background music as well. I did want to switch it up a little bit in case you guys were getting bored of the old one. If you guys like this new one, I might stick with it for a while and then switch back to something else. I might do something in rotation, so make sure you guys let me know how I feel about the background music. It's very generic, but I think it's a good fit for this channel. So let's get right into it. The first free agent we're going to be talking about is Duncan Robinson, because according to John Hollinger's estimation, he is estimated to make approximately $23.9 million per year with his next contract. Now, obviously, Duncan Robinson is a restricted free agent. We've seen a lot of things happening where teams have offered qualifying offers to their restricted free agents, officially making them restricted free agents. The Heat have not done that with Duncan Robinson yet, but we have seen the Lakers do that with Taylor Horton-Tucker. And I'm pretty sure there was another team that did that for another player, but I completely forgot who it was. But I know Taylor Horton-Tucker was an example of a player who hit restricted free agency. I'm pretty sure the Hawks did this with John Collins as well. That's the second guy. So the Heat have not done anything with Duncan yet. They have not sent him. They have not officially made him an unrestricted free or a restricted free agent, but he is a restricted free agent if the Heat offer him a qualifying offer, or the Heat can just offer him money straight up and not make him a restricted free agent. But besides all of that, he is set to make $24 million a year if you round up. I think that is a lot of money, and we're gonna have to decide on whether we're gonna have to pay Duncan that much money or not. I think Duncan is good, but I don't think he's gonna be making $24 million a year. $24 million, you're talking all-star caliber players. And I don't think it's, that far-fetched to say Duncan will probably be making about $18-19 million a year. That's what I see Duncan's. I don't see anything more than 19-18. I think anything more than that is an overpay. I think somewhere between that $15 million range to $19 million range is probably what I'd be willing to pay for Duncan Robinson's services. I think he's one of the most important players to this team. But we're talking about, $24 million a year. That's a ton of money, and I don't know if we should be willing to pay a guy this much money for his. Obviously, his presence is very important. He's a very good shooter, moves off the ball well, knows the system. But I do think we can find other shooters on the market that are cheaper. And like I said, one of the alternatives who also knows the offense that I mentioned in my cheap free agents video, Wayne Ellington, shot a better percentage from 3 than Duncan Robinson this year did, I think. And I'm pretty sure Wayne Ellington's going to be making a lot less money than Duncan Robinson will be making. Probably because he's older, but, with shooting, it doesn't really matter how old you are. You can still shoot the ball. The shooters are very different from regular players. Players that are, rely on their athleticism, obviously you have to factor in their age, but you see guys that are, really old still being able to shoot the ball. Even Kyle Korver was a good shooter with the Milwaukee Bucks on his last leg, and there's been a ton of examples of shooters that have been, older. Like even when Ray Allen came to the Heat, he was an older shooter and he hit the biggest shot in our franchise's history. So there are alternatives to Duncan Robinson if we don't re-sign him. But I think I'd be willing to pay Duncan anywhere between 15 and 19. I think overpaying Duncan is not a good idea, especially because we have to save cap to sign a big fish, or a guy that can help our team win, like an all-star caliber player. So we do want to save as much money as possible for that. So Duncan Robinson, if it's at $24 million a year, I would say let him walk. Otherwise, I would say, bring him back if it's somewhere between 15 and 18 or 15 and 19. The next player we have is Kendrick Nunn, and now he's projected to make about approximately $11.4 million a year. Now, I think this is a bargain for Nunn. I think Nunn is a guy who's a $15 million type player. I don't think $11 million is his value whatsoever. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the NBA. He was one of the most consistent players on the team last year, and I think that he probably doesn't have the potential as a lot of these dudes have, but he does. He is a consistent option that we can, have, whether he's coming off the bench or whether he's starting. I think K Nunn is a guy that'll just hoop no matter what. We've seen stretches where he's gotten 0 PT and then come back into the next game and then show out. Like, he's a very even keeled player. He doesn't really get too high, doesn't get too low. His mindset is very good. He's a very valuable asset, and I think for $11 million a year, I would love to have K Nunn back. I don't think that's too much money at all. Like I said, I think K Nunn's market is about $15 million a year. I think 11 is very, very, it's a bargain in my opinion. Maybe I'm tripping, but I think it's a bargain. He's also restricted, so a team may offer him more than 11, and we'll have to see whether we have to match it or not. But I think for Nunn, I would pay anything, anything $15 million or less. I would do that for K Nunn in a heartbeat. So K Nunn, I think I would easily take that. Victor Oladipo, his market is also about $10.9 million, so $11 million for Victor Oladipo as well. Obviously, this is mostly due to the fact that he has suffered a season-ending injury to his quad, and he's not going to be back for full contact practice by until November. So obviously, this has taken a hit as far as his market value. I'm in the camp of giving Victor Oladipo one more year on a cheaper deal. $11 million, I think, is a cheap deal for Victor Oladipo. I still think at his worst, or at his worst potential, which is what we saw in these 4 games. He was not the Victor Oladipo from Indiana when he was with us for the 4 games he played here. At his worst, he's still a very good defender, and I think he can really, really improve our defense. And we even saw flashes of him creating shots for him and others by driving to the rim. Obviously he was a little bit rusty, and he wasn't the same player because of his injury. But I think hopefully if he heals back from that injury, he'll rejuvenate his career. Or, if he doesn't rejuvenate his career, at worst he'll still be a capable defender, and that's why you only give him a 1-year deal. Because if you only give him a 1-year deal, it's kind of like a trial. You see how Victor Oladipo comes back after his injury, and if you like what he's showing, then you extend his deal long term in next year. So I think a 1-year cheap deal for Victor Oladipo is what I would do, because I still think that he could be a contributing asset to this team in the future and now. He's not an old player by any means, and I think with Oladipo, the thing you have to understand is that he wants to be here. He's always wanted to be here. He's talked about Miami. There's been so many rumors with him in Miami. He's probably the guy who's wanted to be here the most that we acquired, apart from Jimmy probably. And I think he's always going to be wanting to return here no matter what, because this is the city he wants to be in. So unless a team offers him, a bag, I think we can. I still think we have the leverage on that because he wants to be here. So offering him a cheaper deal on a 1-year option, I think he'll understand it. He is coming off an injury, so I don't think he's expecting any team to offer him a bag, but it is possible. But for this market value, I would do it for Oladipo. Next, we have Nemanja Bjelica. Now, his market value is about $7.8 million a year. If I'm not mistaken, that's probably what he's on right now, or he might be on $9 million a year. Bjelica is very interesting. I still think he's gonna leave. I think a team might offer him about $10 million. And I think, for a guy that has been so underused by this team, I don't think we should be paying him more than $10 million. I think, anything under $10 million, I'd probably do it. But I don't think Spo thinks Nemanja Bjelica fits with the system, which is weird because I think him and Olynyk, are very comparable players. I think they're very skilled offensively. They can shoot the ball really well. They're not the best defensively. But I'm not sure why he wasn't used. I think he was probably one of the brightest spots in the Bucks series when he got those garbage minutes. He played really well. So Nemanja Bjelica, I would love to have him back as a bench option, but I just don't know if we're going to be using him or not. I think he would be a very good backup power forward if he's being used. At $7.8 million a year, I might do this, but I think a team's going to offer him more than 7.8. I don't think 7.8 is the right market value for him because I think he's a very skilled player. Next, we have Goran Dragic, with his market value being about $7.3 million a year. Now, obviously, he was on a $17 million deal last year because of the team option. Obviously, we're probably gonna decline this the second year of this team option and then restructure the contract. He wants to be back in Miami. You know, he wants to retire as a Heat lifer. I would love Goran back here. I think I would love him back on a $7.3 million deal as a sixth man. But don't be surprised if the Heat use him in a sign and trade, because it might happen. I'm not even gonna cap to you. It might happen. The Heat might use him in a sign and trade if the team option is picked up. If the team option is picked up on Goran Dragic and Andre Iguodala, expect the trade to be happening with those two players' names being involved, because especially with Iguodala, because if Iguodala's $15 million team option is picked up by the Heat, I think he's gonna get traded very soon, because there's no way he's worth $15 million. We all know that. So the reason the team option is picked up for Iguodala is probably because we have to make salary work by acquiring a big name guy who's on similar money to $15 million. So if the team options are picked up on Goran Dragic and Iguodala, expect a trade to happen with those two players' names involved. But if the team option is declined and the deal is restructured, $7.3 million I don't think would be bad at all for Goran. Trevor Ariza, $6.4 million. I think Ariza's good. I think Ariza's been a very good servant when he got traded here. But I still think that Ariza, we might need upgrades at that power forward position, man. I don't think Ariza is gonna cut it. Ariza is a good player, but I think Ariza is a bench option, man. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Ariza as far as a starting power forward. And I don't even think $6 million I think $6 million might even be too much for Ariza. So, Ariza, I think that, if he wants to retire here, he can, but I think it has to be on a vet minimum. I don't think we have the money to throw around to these guys like this. So Ariza, I would probably decline if it's like 6.5, 7 million. I would probably not bring him back, because he's just getting too old. He doesn't have the, defensively he's really good, but offensively he's an inconsistent 3-point shooter sometimes. He was very cold in the Milwaukee series. And apart from that, he's just a guy who's out there to space the floor, and if he's not doing that, he's just a black hole offensively. So I would not do that for Ariza, but if we do bring him back, I would love to bring him back on a vet minimum. And then Iguodala, his value is $2.7 million. Like I said, if the Heat pick up his team option, then expect a trade coming soon with Iguodala. But if they do not, then I would love Iguodala back on a vet minimum. Because he just does, the little things, and we'll still save a lot of cap, but we'll still save, money with Iguodala's $15 million being off the books and only having to pay him a vet minimum. I would not be mad if Iguodala came back on a vet minimum deal. So rounding all this up, he did not have Dwayne Dedmon's value on here, but I'm almost certain that Dwayne Dedmon will come back to the Heat. So yeah, man, Iguodala, like I said, if the $15 million team option gets picked up, expect a trade coming soon. This has been confirmed by Ira Winderman. A bunch of people like that have confirmed this. So yeah, that's what I have to say about Iguodala. Apart from that, man, the other Heat news that is going around. Apparently, Tyler Hero said that LeBron James is the best player ever to wear a Heat uniform. I mean, that's technically yes, but you can't say that in front of Heat fans, bro. Like, Coach Tony, he had to step in and he was like, he was like clarifying what Tyler said, but nah. I don't know why Tyler said LeBron. He should have known that Miami's a D Wade city, but technically he is correct. LeBron is the best player to have put on a Heat jersey, but D Wade is the greatest player in Heat history. We all know that. So I don't think much should be made about Tyler. And obviously the Olympics start very soon. Team USA plays on Friday. I will be watching Bam a lot. Hopefully starts, man. I don't know what Coach Pop has been on, starting Draymond over him. Bam has to start. If Bam doesn't start, Coach Pop is biased against Heat players or something like that. But I do know that players in the Nigeria team will get a lot of minutes. Precious, Gabe, and KZ all made the squad, and they will be getting minutes. Gabe, KZ, and Precious, I think, will all start. So yeah, expect to see a lot of Heat basketball in the Olympics with Bam, Gabe, Precious, and KZ. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very fun offseason. Obviously, the draft is very soon. The guys that I think we should be taking out of the draft who are undrafted, I will be revealing that once the draft is finished, because I don't want to give a name, and then if the guy is drafted, I'm going to look really stupid because he's going to be drafted. So I want to wait until the draft is done and then eliminate the guys that I have been thinking of. And then after the draft is done, look at the top undrafted guys that the Heat can sign. But as far as positions are concerned, I would first of all look at a point guard, and then after a point guard, probably a power forward who can shoot the ball, or center who can shoot the ball, a stretch big, because Precious was not a stretch big last year. And I don't think we need any wing players. I think our wing players were fine on. As far as drafting them, I think, drafting wing players, athletic wing players, could be very concerning if some of them can't really shoot the ball. Like, because we've had a lot of guys like Stanley Johnson come out of the draft being highly touted and then becoming a bust because he can't shoot the ball. So I would stay away from that as far as undrafted players are concerned. But I would definitely look at point guards. You can find a lot of them, like guys. I don't even know off the top of my head who would be one, but there would be a lot of guys who would be undrafted point guards, and then bigs like a Makur Maker. I don't know if he's gonna get drafted or not, but if he's not, he would be a good option. People like that. But I will be revealing that once the draft is concluded, so you guys can get the full spiel on the undrafted guys that I think that he should sign, because we're looking to bring in 2, is what has been rumored. Pat Riley wants 2 guys to come out of the draft and come into a Heat uniform. But yeah, apart from that, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, man. Make sure y'all drop a like, subscribe, and comment down below. I'll see y'all later as always, man. Peace.